In a small village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, life was peaceful. The villagers lived in harmony, tending to their crops, herding their animals, and gathering at the riverside to share stories in the evenings. This village was unique because it was home to a variety of animals that lived alongside the humans in perfect harmony. Among them was a clever tortoise named Timmy. Timmy was no ordinary tortoise. While other tortoises were slow and steady, Timmy was known for his sharp mind and quick thinking. He often solved problems that baffled the rest of the village, earning him respect and admiration from everyone around. But Timmy's life was about to take a turn that no one expected, one that would test his courage and wit like never before. One sunny afternoon, as Timmy was taking his usual stroll by the riverside, he heard an unusual commotion in the village. The peaceful air was filled with shouts and the sounds of people and animals running in every direction. Curious, Timmy quickened his pace as much as a tortoise could and made his way to the source of the noise. When he reached the village square, Timmy saw the reason for the panic. A fierce lion had wandered into town. His golden mane was thick and wild, his teeth sharp as knives. The lion's eyes were filled with hunger, and he let out a roar that shook the very ground beneath Timmy's feet. The villagers, both human and animal, were terrified. The lion had come to demand food, and everyone was too scared to refuse him. As the lion continued to roar and make his demands, Timmy observed the situation carefully. He noticed the fear in the eyes of the villagers, and he knew that if someone didn't step up, the village would be at the mercy of the lion. Timmy wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but he was the bravest of them all. He knew he had to do something. With a deep breath, Timmy slowly made his way through the crowd and stood before the lion. The lion, surprised to see a tortoise approach him, paused his growling and looked down at Timmy with curiosity. The villagers held their breath, wondering what the clever tortoise had in mind. Timmy, feeling the weight of the villagers' expectations on his shell, spoke with confidence. "Mighty lion," he began, "I understand that you are hungry, but taking food by force is not the way of our village. Instead, I propose a challenge, a race to the top of the hill. If you win, you may take what you wish. But if I win, you must leave our village in peace." The lion, amused by the tortoise's boldness, let out a chuckle. "You, a slow tortoise, challenge me, the fastest and mightiest of all animals, to a race? Very well, I accept your challenge. But be warned, I will not go easy on you." The villagers gasped at Timmy's audacity, but Timmy remained calm, his plan already forming in his clever mind. The news of the race spread quickly throughout the village. The humans and animals gathered at the base of the hill, whispering among themselves. How could Timmy, a tortoise, possibly hope to outrun a lion? Some doubted his chances, while others, who knew of Timmy's cleverness, hoped he had a plan. Meanwhile, Timmy prepared himself for the race in his own way. Instead of focusing on speed, he thought about the different paths that led to the top of the hill. He knew that the lion would take the most direct route, but Timmy had a different strategy in mind. He had explored the hill many times and knew of a hidden path that, though longer, had shortcuts that could save him time. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the village, the race was ready to begin. The villagers gathered at the starting line, eager to see what would happen. The lion stretched his powerful legs, his muscles rippling beneath his golden fur. Timmy, on the other hand, stood calmly, his eyes focused on the hill ahead. With a loud roar, the lion signaled the start of the race and took off at lightning speed. The ground shook as he sprinted towards the hill, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake. Timmy, however, did not rush. He began his journey at his usual slow pace, but with a determined look on his face. The villagers watched in awe, unsure of what to expect from the tortoise. As the lion raced ahead, he felt a surge of confidence. He glanced back and saw that Timmy was far behind, moving at a pace that seemed almost laughable. "This race will be over in no time," the lion thought to himself. He increased his speed, determined to reach the top of the hill and claim his victory. But the lion's confidence made him careless. He focused only on running as fast as he could, paying little attention to his surroundings. The path he chose was steep and filled with obstacles, but the lion didn't care. He was too focused on winning to notice the small details that could slow him down. While the lion raced up the steep and challenging path, Timmy quietly made his way to the hidden path he had discovered long ago. This path was not as direct as the lion's route, but it had several shortcuts that Timmy knew would save him time. He moved steadily, his eyes scanning the ground for familiar landmarks. As Timmy traveled along the hidden path, he remembered the times he had explored the hill as a young tortoise. He had learned every twist and turn, every rock and tree. Now, that knowledge was serving him well. He took each shortcut with confidence, knowing that they would lead him closer to the top while the lion struggled with the more difficult route. As the lion continued to struggle up the hill, he began to encounter obstacles that slowed him down. The steep incline made his legs ache, and the rocks beneath his paws were sharp and slippery. He was forced to slow his pace, which frustrated him greatly. "How can this be?" the lion growled to himself. "I should be at the top by now." Despite his struggles, the lion kept going, determined not to lose to a tortoise. But the further he went, the more he realized that the race was not as easy as he had thought. The path was longer and more challenging than he had anticipated, and his confidence began to waver. Meanwhile, Timmy continued along his hidden path, making steady progress towards the top of the hill. He moved with purpose, taking each step carefully but quickly. His knowledge of the hill's terrain gave him an advantage, allowing him to avoid the obstacles that were slowing the lion down. As Timmy approached the final shortcut, he could see the top of the hill in the distance. He knew that if he kept up his pace, he would reach the summit before the lion. The thought of winning the race filled him with determination, and he quickened his pace as much as his small legs would allow. As the lion continued to struggle up the hill, he began to feel a sense of unease. He had expected to reach the top by now, but the summit still seemed far away. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Could it be possible that the tortoise is ahead of me? The lion wondered, though he quickly dismissed the thought. But as he continued, the lion's confidence started to erode. He realized that he had underestimated Timmy's cleverness. The lion began to push himself harder, but the obstacles and the challenging path took their toll. Despite his best efforts, the lion could feel his energy waning, and doubt began to creep into his mind. Timmy reached the final stretch of the hidden path, his heart pounding with excitement. The top of the hill was just ahead, and he knew that the lion was still far behind. With a final burst of energy, Timmy pushed himself forward, determined to reach the summit first. As he climbed the last few steps, Timmy could hear the distant sounds of the lion's growls of frustration. He knew that the lion was still struggling on the difficult path, unaware that Timmy had taken a different route. With one final push, Timmy reached the top of the hill and looked out over the village below. Timmy stood at the top of the hill, his small chest swelling with pride. He had done it. He had outsmarted the lion and won the race. As he looked down at the village, he could see the villagers cheering and waving up at him. They had been watching the race from below and were overjoyed to see that Timmy had reached the summit first. The lion, exhausted and frustrated, finally reached the top of the hill moments later. When he saw Timmy standing there, he couldn't believe his eyes. "How is this possible?" the lion roared, his voice filled with disbelief. "I am the fastest and the strongest. How could you, a mere tortoise, have beaten me?" Timmy, still catching his breath, looked up at the lion with a calm and knowing smile. "Mighty lion," he said, "speed and strength are important, but so is wisdom. I knew I couldn't outrun you on a straight path, so I used my knowledge of the hill to find a way that would allow me to reach the top first. It was not just a race of speed, but of strategy." The lion, though still shocked, couldn't help but admire Timmy's cleverness. He realized that he had underestimated the tortoise, and in doing so, had lost the race. With a deep breath, the lion nodded in acknowledgement. "You are indeed wise, Timmy," the lion said. "I may be strong, but you have shown me that true strength lies in using one's mind as well." After the race, the lion and Timmy stood side by side at the top of the hill, looking out over the village. The villagers below continued to cheer, celebrating Timmy's victory. The lion, humbled by his defeat, turned to Timmy and said, "You have earned my respect, Timmy. I will honor our agreement and leave your village in peace." But Timmy, always thinking ahead, had another idea. "Mighty lion," he said, "you are strong and powerful, and our village could benefit from your protection. Instead of leaving, why not stay and become a friend to our village? We could learn much from each other." The lion, touched by Timmy's offer, considered it for a moment. He had never thought of himself as someone who could be part of a community, but the idea intrigued him. "Very well, Timmy," the lion agreed. "I will stay and protect your village. In return, I will learn from you and the other villagers. Together, we will make this place even stronger." The news of the lion's decision to stay and protect the village spread quickly, and the villagers were overjoyed. That evening, they gathered in the village square to celebrate Timmy's victory and the lion's newfound friendship. The air was filled with laughter and music as the humans and animals danced and sang together. Timmy, though exhausted from the day's events, felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had not only won the race, but had also helped to forge a new alliance between the village and the lion. As he watched the celebration, Timmy realized that this was only the beginning of many more adventures to come. In the days that followed, the lion began to settle into his new role as the village's protector. At first, the villagers were still a bit wary of him, but Timmy reassured them that the lion was now their friend. The lion, eager to prove himself, started patrolling the village, making sure that no harm came to anyone. But the lion also had much to learn about living in harmony with others. One day, as he was patrolling the outskirts of the village, he spotted a group of smaller animals playing near the river. The lion, in his eagerness to protect them, approached quickly, but his large size and booming voice frightened the animals, causing them to scatter in fear. When Timmy heard about the incident, he sought out the lion to offer some advice. "Mighty lion," Timmy began, "your intentions were good, but sometimes strength can be intimidating to those who are smaller and less powerful. If you want to protect the village, you must learn to approach others with gentleness and patience." The lion, realizing his mistake, nodded thoughtfully. "You are right, Timmy," he said. "I was too eager to prove myself and didn't consider how my presence might be perceived by the smaller animals. I will do my best to be more mindful in the future." With Timmy's guidance, the lion began to change his approach. Instead of using his strength to intimidate, he started to use his wisdom to understand the needs and fears of the villagers. Slowly but surely, the lion became a beloved figure in the village, known not just for his strength, but for his kindness and understanding as well. As time passed, the village began to thrive like never before. The presence of the lion brought a new sense of security, and the villagers felt safer and more confident in their daily lives. With the lion and Timmy working together, the village became a place where everyone, human and animal alike, could live in harmony and peace. New families moved to the village, and the population began to grow. The fields were abundant with crops, and the river teemed with fish. The village square, once a quiet place, was now bustling with activity as people and animals traded goods and shared stories. The village had become a beacon of prosperity, attracting visitors from far and wide. But with growth came new challenges. As the village expanded, so did the need for resources and space. The villagers began to clear more land for farming and building, but this encroached on the natural habitats of the animals who lived in the surrounding forests. Timmy, always concerned with the well-being of all creatures, knew that they needed to find a balance. One day, Timmy called a meeting with the village leaders, the animals, and the lion to discuss the issue. "We have all worked hard to make this village a place where everyone can thrive," Timmy said. "But we must remember that the land belongs to all of us, and we must find a way to live in harmony with nature." The meeting Timmy called came to be known as the Council of the Wise, where both humans and animals gathered to discuss the future of the village. It was a sight to behold, humans sitting side by side with animals, each voice heard and respected. The lion, now a wise leader himself, sat at the head of the council with Timmy by his side. Timmy proposed a solution: the creation of a protected area in the forest where the animals could live without fear of losing their homes. In return, the animals would help the villagers by sharing their knowledge of the land and working together to find sustainable ways to grow food and build homes. The council members listened carefully, weighing the pros and cons of Timmy's proposal. After much discussion, the Council of the Wise agreed to Timmy's proposal. A large area of the forest was designated as a protected zone, where no trees would be cut and no land would be cleared. The animals who lived in the forest were overjoyed and thanked Timmy and the lion for their understanding and support. In return, the animals shared their knowledge with the villagers. The birds taught the villagers how to find the best seeds for planting. The deer showed them which herbs and plants were most nutritious. And the beavers helped them build sturdy homes using natural materials. The village continued to thrive, but now in a way that respected the balance of nature. One day, a group of travelers arrived in the village. They were unlike anyone the villagers had ever seen, wearing clothes made from materials that shimmered in the sunlight and speaking in a language that was unfamiliar to most. The villagers, always welcoming, invited the travelers to stay and share their stories. The travelers were fascinated by the harmony between humans and animals in the village. They had never seen anything like it in their own lands, where animals were often feared or hunted. They listened intently as the villagers told them the story of Timmy and the lion, and how their friendship had brought peace and prosperity to the village. The travelers were so impressed by what they saw in the village that they made a request to the Council of the Wise. "We have seen many places in our travels," one of the travelers said, "but never have we seen such harmony between humans and animals. We wish to learn from you and bring this wisdom back to our own lands." The council, led by Timmy and the lion, discussed the travelers' request. They knew that sharing their knowledge could help others, but they also worried about the impact that more outsiders might have on the village and the delicate balance they had worked so hard to achieve. Timmy, always thoughtful, proposed a solution. Timmy suggested that the travelers could stay in the village for a time, learning from the villagers and animals about how they lived in harmony. In return, the travelers would share their own knowledge and skills, helping the village to continue to grow and prosper. The council agreed, and the travelers were welcomed as honored guests. Over the next few months, the travelers learned everything they could from the villagers and animals. They studied how the humans and animals worked together, how they respected the land, and how they resolved conflicts with wisdom and compassion. In return, the travelers taught the villagers new skills, such as weaving fine cloth and making stronger tools. As the travelers prepared to leave the village, they wanted to give a gift to the villagers as a token of their gratitude. They presented the village with a set of books filled with the knowledge and stories they had gathered from their own lands. The books were beautifully bound and filled with illustrations that captured the imagination of everyone who saw them. Timmy and the council were touched by the travelers' generosity. The books were placed in a special room in the village, where everyone could come and read them. The knowledge in the books opened up new possibilities for the villagers, sparking ideas and innovations that would continue to benefit the village for generations to come. With the departure of the travelers, the village returned to its usual rhythm. But the peaceful days were soon disrupted by a new challenge. A severe drought struck the region, drying up the river and withering the crops in the fields. The villagers and animals alike began to suffer, and the once prosperous village faced the threat of hunger and thirst. Timmy knew that they had to act quickly to find a solution. He called another meeting of the Council of the Wise to discuss what could be done. The villagers looked to Timmy and the lion for guidance, hoping that their wisdom would lead them through this difficult time. The council agreed that the first priority was to find a new source of water. Without water, the crops could not grow, and the villagers and animals would not survive. The lion offered to lead a group to search for water in the surrounding hills, while Timmy suggested that they also explore the possibility of digging deeper wells. As the lion and his group set out on their journey, Timmy stayed behind to organize the efforts in the village. He worked with the villagers to dig new wells and to conserve the water they had left.